Against the Clock, the Professional Portfolio, Adobe Photoshop Creative Cloud 2017 release. We are on Project 3, Museum Image Corrections, and this is Stage 3, Correcting Color Problems. Make sure you read the sections on page 184 through 186 about understanding color terms and additive versus subtractive color. Remember, we are working with additive colors for an RGB model, and if you are going to print an item, you need to convert it over to the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black color mode before sending it to a professional printer. This does not mean printing as sending something off to Walmart to be printed there. They want the JPEG for that type of printing, but this would be for something that's going into a publication. We are working on the bust file, and if you don't have your info panel open, go to Windows, select Info, and if you don't see both the RGB and CMYK color modes, choose Panel Options and select Actual Color for the first color readout, which will give you the RGB, and CMYK color for the second color readout, and select OK. Choose the Color Sampler tool, which is going to be nested underneath your eyedropper. In the options bar, select sample size for a 3x3 average. We're going to average a group of contiguous pixels for our sample value. This is going to keep us from accidentally getting a single stray dust spot or something like that. Click the cursor on the bust's right shoulder to get a sample point. His right shoulder, not yours. Click to select a second sample point on his left shoulder. Our sample points are going to be numbered in order of creation. So you can see we have sample number 1 and sample number 2. We don't have enough blue, which means we've got too much yellow. Choose Image, Adjustments, Color Balance. Color Balance is the basic correction tool that can effectively remove overall color casts. The Color Balance box presents separate sliders for each pair of complementary colors, and you can adjust the highlights, the shadows, or the midtones by selecting the appropriate radio buttons. Click the Highlights radio button and drag the yellow-blue slider right until the right field is a positive 25. Adding a color's complement is one method for neutralizing that color. Increasing the blue neutralizes the yellow. Click the midtone radio button. The focus of this image, the bust, it primarily occupies the highlight and midtone ranges. We're adjusting the color balance in those ranges to minimize the yellow cast. So in here we're going to drag this towards the blue so you have a plus 10. Click OK to apply this adjustment. We have eliminated the yellow cast from the image. You can go up and check this by going to the Open in your History panel and see what it looked like when we first opened it up, and then the selection that we have now. Save the file as Bust Fixed with your initials. Remember, again, as a JPEG, we don't need the PSD file. In this section, we're going to do some color correction using curves. The curves adjustment is the most powerful color correction tool in Photoshop. That should be like all caps. If you can get a grasp on using curves, you can use this tool to change colors, enhance overall contrast. You can modify color values. It does so very much. Take some time and do some experimentation with this, because you may find this is your most favorite tool for adjusting an image. We're working with the plaque file. Make sure that you read the section on page 189 and 90 before you proceed with this. Using the color sample tool, we're going to put a sample point in the empty area outside of the plaque. Get your info open. This gives us a neutral area. We have a lot of red that's in this image and it needs to be neutralized. We can correct this cast by removing the cast color or adjusting the other two primaries so that we have equal parts of red, green, and blue in that neutral area. Our red value is 233. We have the blue of 212, the green is 220. We need to fix the cast on this. We're going to use the middle value, the green channel, as the target to adjust the other two curves to match. So go into Image, Adjustments, Curves. Pick the red channel. This is only the red channel now, and we're going to click the line on the graph to place a point near the 3/4 grid intersection. So right up in about here. After you adjust a curve, including adding a point, the info panel shows two values for the placed color sample. Numbers before the slash are the original, and then the second value is the ones after the change. With the new point selected on the curve, type the original red value in the input field. So it was 233. Type the target in the output field. For our target, we want to match the green, which was 220. And now in the channel menu, pick up the blue channel because we're going to adjust it just the same way. We're going to put a point on the curve again. Our input value for our blue was 212. And we want the output to be 220. Click OK to apply the changes and close the curves dialog box. Look now, our sample color is 220 all the way across. We've eliminated that red cast. Save your file with fixed and your initials as a JPEG. We're going to keep working with curves. This time we're going to be correcting contrast. Make sure you read the entire page of 193 so that you're familiar with what we're going to be doing. We're working with the tile JPEG, and again open Image, Adjustments, and Curves. Activate the Show Clipping option and click the white point on the top right corner of the graph, and then drag it left until some pixels start to appear in the image. It's not going to be a lot of them, but you'll get a few that are sparkling up. It's just past the point where the histogram starts to curve up. Now you can turn off the Show Clipping option so you can look at the changes you're making to the image. If you want to check see what you've done, turn off the preview. Even this small change has improved the image, but the midtones are still needing some additional contrast. We're going to steepen the curves in the middle of the graph. Click the curve to create a point at the quarter tone grid line and drag it slightly to the right. We adjusted the curve point from an input value of about 75 to an output value of 65. Click the curve at the 3/4 tone grid line and drag that point to the left. We're adjusting an approximate 165 input value to a 190 output. Make sure you read the section on page 195, Understanding Curve Display Options. Click OK to apply the change and close the dialog box. Save this file as tile fixed with your initials as a JPEG. Make sure you read the sections on page 196, Understanding Automatic Color Correction, and page 197, the Match Color Adjustment.